it's clear that this is the direction everything is going. There is a lot of hesitation, I suppose, and even when I was getting started, there was hesitation. But once results start coming in, the hesitation completely goes out the window, and you start seeing some results. So what I would say is, if you're going to make the move, and you ought to make the move to a more digital and content-based inbound strategy, so drawing people to you, if you're going to do that, make the commitment to do it, and don't do it half-heartedly. It takes actually a lot of effort.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
Hey, so on today's episode, I have Mr. John Joyce here, who is the Global Marketing Director for Brennan Industries, and he is going to share with us an awesome presentation that he gave at the Content Marketing World, which is part of the Content Marketing Institute. They had a summit for industrial marketing. It was called the Industrial Marketing Summit, and he gave a really awesome presentation that I'm super excited to have him on to present to you, our audience. John, thank you so much for coming on IndustrialSage.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so John, for those who aren't familiar with Brennan Industries, what do you guys do?
So Brennan is a hydraulics manufacturer. We make hydraulic fittings primarily and related products, and we sell them all over North America, Europe, and Asia. And we have some ancillary products related to the hydraulic industry too. So mostly stainless steel and carbon steel hydraulic fittings is our bread and butter product.
Okay, awesome. All right, and so a little bit about you as a background. I don't always do this like on IndustrialSage. I kind of want to do this because I like to get to know the people behind the marketing, here. So tell me a little about your background. How did you get into marketing? Were you always in marketing with, industrial companies, or what's your story?
So I started my career off, I've always been in communications. It wasn't always marketing, but I started off in a media production company. And in that company, I worked in graphic design and video production and conference production, multimedia production, all kinds of different types of, content production, I guess. So in that company, I worked my way up to director of marketing, and I did that for a number of years. And then after that, I spun off and started my own agency. So I ran an agency for about 12 years, which was fully integrated marketing, both traditional and digital, and worked with a bunch of different kind of clients, from some sports teams, local sports teams, banks, industrial clients, a variety of different types of businesses. And that's where I first got into industrial marketing, was working with clients in my agency.
Very cool.
I sold my agency and then became a consultant, kind of an international industrial marketing consultant. We lived overseas for a number of years in Morocco and in Portugal, and then came back here and became the director of marketing for Brennan Industries, which is in Cleveland.
Very cool. The world traveler over here with a lot of experience.
Done a little traveling and some marketing in different areas of the world, which has kind of been an interesting experience too.
That's really cool. So actually, just off topic. Well, maybe not super off topic, but okay, Morocco. How long did you live there for?
We only lived there for about 6 months, actually. So it was kind of a hop, skip, and a jump between the U.S. and Lisbon.
Okay.
So from the U.S., we went there, and then we moved to Lisbon and lived there for about 3 years.
And how was that?
It was awesome, actually. Yeah, the economy is very different, but I mostly did consulting with U.S.-based clients, or I did a consulting with a company in Saudi Arabia too, but basically not companies in Portugal, because their economy is one that's suffered recently with the economic downturn and whatnot. But it's a great place to live in terms of the climate, the food, the culture, the music. Everything is great there.
That's very cool. It's a place I would love to go visit, or country rather. I'd love to go visit. That's pretty cool. Very neat. So, all right. So I kind of want to jump into a little bit about on your presentation that you gave, and the title was very exciting. Saying how you guys were able to increase your leads by 800% using content marketing. So that is lots of big, flashy, big numbers, big percentages, and this weird thing called content marketing, which none of our audience knows anything about. I'm being very facetious, obviously, we were talking about it a little bit beforehand here, content marketing and, this, and maybe in the industrial markets are a little tell me this story. How did you guys start into this and give me some background information?
I don't know, this was probably about 2015 when I started at Brennan. And when I came in there, uh, they were like a lot of other industrial manufacturers are. And this isn't to their detriment. I mean, a lot of industrial companies are kind of in the same boat, which is generally speaking like 10 to 20 years behind the times
Mm-hmm.
of other types of marketing and even just other types of business in general. So when I came in there, they were spending a lot on magazine ads, trade publication ads, and that kind of thing, which I knew from other experience just wasn't the best way to spend money and get kind of a return. It's very, very hard to track, leads that are coming from that and drive anything. It's just like you're throwing ads out there into the ecosystem and hoping something happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So at that point, I immediately knew I needed to change things to more digital based, something a little more modern. Uh, Digital marketing approach using content to draw people in. So, not to really give a basics in 101 content marketing, but in a super short nutshell, the difference is instead of trying to go out to where the customer is and interrupt what they're doing and get their attention, you try to be a source of knowledge, a place they go to when they're looking for information about your products or things related to your market. So we had none of that kind of content at that time and had no momentum in that area. So we just started on square one, with a blog,
Mm.
putting content out there. And one of the things I said in my presentation, I showed a graph that showed our growth, and it was an exponential type graph where it starts out real low here and it goes like this and then goes like that. And the reason why I showed that was to show that it took like a good year and a half before we really got any kind of momentum or traction off of our content marketing program. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's kind of been exploding for the last, couple of years, just growing off the chart as we just continue to build it. Because one of the things about content marketing is it's a momentum building approach, like rolling a snowball down a hill. You start with just a tiny little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep adding layers and layers and layers and layers. And that first tiny bit doesn't go away. It's still, those first things are still bringing people in and it's still converting leads. We'll go back and fine tune them, but they're still out there. So as you expand your content, the effectiveness expands, the reach expands, the conversion rate increases, the number of leads increases. And yeah, we saw really exponential growth over time in the amount of leads generated. And the process is pretty simple, but it produced outstanding results to us to where every year since I've been there, I've cut the advertising budget in half every single year
Mm.
for regular ads. We still do a few because that would be in my brand building kind of category. It's okay to build brand, that's important. But the majority of the budget has just gone into developing more and more content and more different types and attracting leads that way.
That's awesome. All right. So you said, it took some time, obviously, to build a build and start getting some of those results. And you said you were doing blogging. What did that look like in terms of like frequency and, what were you blogging about?
Yeah. So what we did, our process was it kind of begins with research. Even way back at the beginning, it starts with research. So we go to the sales team or go to the actual customer and try to identify what's an area that people don't know something and they need to know it,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
related to our space. We feel like we know everything and everybody else already knows it, but in reality, they don't know it. You overestimate what the market knows because you're so steeped in it. It just seems like, of course, they know all this stuff, but they don't. So we identified some areas that would be educational areas, and we just developed content targeting those educational areas. And basically, at the very beginning, it was very slow. We would create some content piece, some sort of what you would call now premium content piece, like a white paper or guide or whatever it may be, and then support that with blogs and social media and a landing page, etc. And we might have done one of those or something like the first year, just trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But now, we do about 4 to 6 new pieces a year, and also we take the old pieces and rework them or extend them. So we'll take an old piece and make it into a series of infographics or a video or something, because that old content, even though it's older, is still relevant. It still matters. So one thing I want to address real quick, you'll probably get around to asking me about it, but I just think it's important to establish. We talked about it earlier, which is the difference between industrial marketing and other types of marketing that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's unique about industrial marketing is it's not just an impulse buy. Like, for instance, in consumer marketing, obviously things are much more an impulse buy. This tennis shoe makes me feel special, I'll buy it.
Right.
With manufactured components that go into someone else's manufactured components, right? You have a whole company that you're trying to sell this product to. So there's a new product development team, which is engineers and buyers, and then there's a supply chain team, and executive team, and you may have OEMs and you may have distributors, and they have all of those players are doing things for totally different reasons and have different motivations and are really looking for completely different types of content. So that's another thing that we've tried to do is provide content of real value for specific audiences. So maybe really valuable engineering content about certain things about an O-ring or different types of materials that go into a product, or even content in the form of CAD documents or drawings or measurements or cross references, pressure ratings. All of that data is still content.
Yeah.
And that appeals to like a engineering person. We provide information that might appeal to a distributor or to a procurement person. And all those people get different types of content. So that's another thing we've expanded over time, the different audiences we're trying to reach.
Yeah, no, and that's fantastic. It's great because obviously everybody's got to your point, a different reason on why they want to buy, or they're in a different area. So when you said you've kind of evolved with that, are you writing out personas or sort of developing that? And then, I mean, is like, as far as your content strategy, how are you developing it based off of that? Like sit down once a year or something, or what does that look like?
Well, we talk about this stuff constantly, way more than once a year. But and we don't do personas in the fine-grained kind of traditional, or if I could say traditional, like the way you would think of like personas. Like, this is, Bill Bob, engineer, and he's 45 and whatever. We don't develop them to that degree, but we do target personas like I laid out before, like OEM in specific job positions, distributor in specific job positions, MRO, different markets, hydraulic, aerospace, pneumatic.
Yeah.
And we lay them out like that, but not, for instance, down to like personal details. A lot of times you see in personas, you would have so many, the matrix is big enough already, but just that way,
Right.
So then we have approached it from what do we think would be the most effective route in to a new company, and the first foot in the door in most industrial things like this is through the new product development group through engineering. So that's where we started, and then we just have expanded into other groups from there, just because it seemed like the engineering side of new product development teams speccing in your components into their assemblies made the most sense to hit first.
Right.
If a guy in engineering isn't speccing your part, a guy in procurement isn't suddenly going to buy it, because of your white paper. So,
Right.
that was the approach we took. Start from, I guess, tactically, strategically, what made the most sense according to the buying process.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I think it's a very smart approach, and it's good. We talk about this a lot on the show as well. Is like a lot of people say, okay, great, we need to do this, we need to do blogs, whatever. What the heck should we do? Like, where do we start? And you mentioned it very early on. You went and you sat down with your sales team, you talked to customers to get a sense of, okay, like boots on the ground. What are you guys looking for, or what are our customers or prospects always asking for, so you can really help them to be able to use that content throughout the sales process, or even be able to help, dare I say, generate leads, that way, where you're gonna be able to, hey, we're able to nurture these people. They already know who we are because they found some great content that we're helping to educate them, on. They might not be ready to buy today, but, maybe 6 months down the road or a year or what have you, when they're ready, we're here, we're ready to go.
Correct. Yeah, the idea is they come across your brand in the marketplace out there. They start getting a favorable impression. Maybe they see something that piques their interest enough to click on it. They drill in, they navigate around. Like, one of the things we're doing now is ungating older content. We already have enough gated content, so now we're going back and making ungated content. So as you navigate around without even putting information in, the website is giving you value. So we really try to give value, to provide value. So, a lot of the content is ungated, or just requires, you might have to put your information in, but you're still getting something of value.
Yeah.
And another thing we've done that's been super successful is going old school, which means, like, for me, one day we just decided we were producing this thread identification guide because there was a need in the market for it, the education on the line of identifying threads. Okay, in our product, there's lots of different configurations, different thread types. They look very similar. They're hard to tell apart. You got to get it right. A lot of confusion. We said, okay, we're going to make this guide, but this guide, we're not going to make it a PDF like everything else in the world that's a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
We said, we're going to print this guide. We're going to make a 28-page booklet and print it in full color on glossy stock. It's going to be nice because we try to do everything excellently. And we're only going to make it available in a physical form. Okay. But we're give it away. Okay. So this was a test, and this has been like basically the second most popular thing on our website is people download. Well, you can't download it. They put in and we mail it to them for free. Okay. Costs a couple of bucks for us to mail that, but $2 for a lead is actually pretty cheap.
It is. Yeah.
And so we send that guide out, and the result has been we've gotten many people come back to us and say, can you send us a case of 100? We're going to use this as our training material for like new people who are coming on board, because yours is the nicest and best guide along these lines. And so quickly we realized, one, there's definitely a need, and two, this is a value, not just the information, but think of the last time somebody wrote you a physical letter. Like, if somebody wrote you a physical letter, if you went home and there was one in the mail today from, a friend of yours, you would read it and you would feel like, oh, he took time and wrote me a real letter, and like, look how nice this is. Because we've gotten so digital that the physical is gone. So now when you have it, it's like unique again,
No, you're 100% right. It's funny to see that sort of come back, sort of full circle, and we're starting to hear that a lot, and even experience it ourselves. I remember, so every year we do the insights report. So we survey 150 manufacturers or more about sales and marketing trends, and we put into it an ebook and a downloadable. It's 52 pages, all this. But I'll never forget, we went and printed it. And I remember looking at it being like, wow, this is wow, this is amazing. It was our own thing, but it's just that physical form, was amazing. But to take it to the next level where you guys are actually sending it to them, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's funny. You get stuff in the mail all the time, primarily because of Amazon. You buy, but as far as like a letter or something like that, to your point, that, yeah, when's the last time that happened outside of being a bill? And nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Or
Junk mail.
yeah,
But the thing is, this is something somebody asked for.
yeah,
So it doesn't go in the garbage. We know it doesn't.
yeah,
People get it. We started including a little form in there that says, a flyer that says, give this to your friend if he wants one.
yeah.
You know, just give it to him. It has the web address and he can download, or we'll email. See, I can't even say it. We'll physically mail him his own copy, and we get a ton of people who get this guide. Their friend sees it. They give them the paper. Their friend goes and orders one,
Totally
and
get
we
it.
send it to him too. And I think it's something simple, but the difference is it provides a different sense of value. So you get that thing, it sits on your desk, you hand it to somebody, it's tangible. We make it at our own expense at a very high quality,
Yeah.
you know, and it leaves a good impression of the brand, and it's seen as value. So we've actually extended that to even catalogs. So of course, our products are online, but we still develop catalogs, and we also make those available. You can download them, but we'll mail it to you for free because product catalog, product information in a physical form. It's actually still wanted by a ton of people, and
Oh yeah.
it transcends the inbox or the downloads folder a little differently than just another PDF, and you're lost in the shuffle of PDFs, and now you're in
Absolutely.
nurturing and whatever. But okay, instead I got a physical item, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in the world. It's funny. I've seen, a lot of people with, the product catalogs, and they still, they do the dog ear, so you go through it and you can kind of, because you can get totally lost in the digital, yes, you can measure, you can do all that stuff, but there is still an element of that. But one thing I think that just really commend you guys on, which is great, is a lot of companies you'll see that, yes, we still have the catalog and that's what they'll send. It's like, oh, do you want to, I mean, I know you guys will do that maybe later down in the funnel there, but it's like, the key word is value, is that you guys are providing value and you're educating people, and that it's like you're helping them in their jobs, do something. You're providing value. You're being thought leaders and experts in your industry. And so instead of saying, hey, buy from us, it's, hey, here, how can we help you? Like this guide can help you.
Right.
And that's, and it's the same thing, online with what you guys are doing with your content online that is digital. And I think a lot of people kind of get lost, particularly, in the industrial, in the manufacturing world. It's like, oh, we got to sell, we got to, it's like, we want that order. We're going to the trade show and I want to come back away with, all the POs and the sales. It's like, it's the way people buy is like totally different now, I mean, to be honest with you, actually, I don't even think that it's really shifted so much, like the process of how I buy. Maybe the medium is a little different, right?
Right.
But it's all about that value. I love it. That's and educating. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think what's changed is that marketing has become a huger part of the funnel,
Yeah.
uh, of the sales funnel than it ever was before, because of the self education
Mm-hmm.
approach to buying anything.
Right.
And if how are people going to self educate if you're not giving them educational stuff? Basically, so that's what we really try to do, is do that, provide that value. So when you're looking for the information on how to choose what it is, or what are the differences between this or this,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be, that we are the ones giving you the answer, and that's a value exchange. And through that process, you begin to build a relationship with a company, just like, because you go to the same bank and work with the same teller, or buy your bagel at the same place in the morning. You start to get to know those people. They
Mm-hmm.
know what you want. You recognize them. They recognize you. There's a rapport that starts to build there, even though you've never really hung out with that person or anything.
Right.
You didn't have them over for dinner, but you know that person on some level. And that's what you're doing as a brand in the digital space. When you're providing this education, you're basically saying, look, you can get to know us, you can see what we think will help you, we'll invest in you, we'll provide you value. And then you're building a trust basically between your brand and your consumers. And hopefully, what we're trying to do is target all those different people in those different roles
Hmm.
so that they all have the same experience. And they're like, yeah, the procurement guy's like, yeah, Brennan. And the engineering guy's like, yeah, Brennan. And then when it goes to the buyer or whatever, he's like, oh, Brennan, yeah. And you just get a string of green lights because there's, you know, several people involved with an industrial sale. It's
Hmm.
not just one little simple decision. They take a year or two sometimes,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. So all right. So so this is what you did here, and 800% increase in leads, and that took you what, a week?
Yeah. Right. So that's over 4 years, comparing the beginning to 4 years into it.
Yeah.
But the increase was so, big. We actually had to create a new role of inside sales, more or less. We call them business development
Yeah.
manager, to handle the leads
Yeah.
because there's so many. And then we actually had to put together a lead routing system, a software solution for routing those leads. Because as an industrial company that works with distributors,
Hmm.
a value that we give to distributors is our lead generation capability. So say you're a little distributor, you can't have a massive content marketing initiative going,
Right.
but we can, and
Right.
you're our distributor, and we'll give you those leads because we're not going to sell to your leads. I mean, a lot of these leads just go to our distributors, right? So that's another way you're just creating value by investing in that lead generation system.
Yeah.
And now it's a funnel for all your distributors. And when they're choosing what product am I going to carry, they look out there and say, well, who's working the hardest to get me leads,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We on a previous episode that we had here in Industrial Sage, that was one of the things we were talking about was, how can you, for those who are going through, you working with distributors, how can you facilitate that and really, like, how can you use marketing in different ways to be able to sort of help them there? And that was one of the things, is just make it easy for them. If you're sending leads to your distributor, I mean, come on, like, hey, look, I got these people, they're ready to go. What they're gonna, even if they're repping or they've got other, competitive products, I mean, they're gonna say, oh, man, these guys are making it easy for me over here. This is help. Like, I keep it coming. You're making my job easier. This is awesome.
Sure.
So, okay. So I got another question. All right. So great results. Obviously it takes time. Obviously it didn't take a week. Like I was joking. It took a little bit more than that. And where a lot of companies are in, I'm maybe a similar boat to where you guys were maybe 4 years ago or even 5 years ago, is maybe they know, okay, yeah, I like what I hear. I would love that. We want to do this. But, we think we know how now, but there's inevitably always that obstacle of getting that buy-in. What did that look like for you guys?
Well, since I was kind of coming into a new role there, I had a lot of automatic buy-in. But for somebody else already in that role, what I would say is, I mean, it's clear that this is the direction everything is going. There is a lot of hesitation, I suppose, and even when I was getting started, there was hesitation. But once results start coming in, the hesitation completely goes out the window, and you start seeing some results. So what I would say is, if you're going to make the move, and you ought to make the move to a more digital and content based inbound strategy, so drawing people to you, if you're going to do that, make the commitment to do it, and don't do it half-heartedly. It takes actually a lot of effort. It's a major change from a traditional, we're just going to create ads. You find yourself basically slowly turning into a media production company, your
Mm-hmm.
marketing department. So now we have like a video guy on staff now. We have, designers. We have video equipment. Like we didn't have any of that kind of stuff. So over time, the transition into the marketing department is actually kind of profound. There's a lot of changes that go on there, and a lot of new I guess, expertise and new skill sets that need to be there. So it's going to take an investment, and it's going to take some commitment, and it doesn't happen quickly. So that's actually kind of like the triple whammy for the SEO, CFO, who's like looking at everything going, our marketing is, you know, going way up. Well, I could tell you though, if you and the publishers won't want to hear this, but you can cut that publishing budget. I really doubt you will see a change. We've noticed no change, in 4 years of cutting the advertising budget down half each year. We haven't noticed the loss in the amazing leads that those ads were pulling in. It didn't. It went the exact opposite. The advertising graph goes like that, and the results graph goes like that. You know?
Yeah.
So there might be fear of, oh, well, we're going to drastically reduce our ad spend in order to make money available for content marketing, which is, some new unproven thing. But yeah, do exactly that. Take money out of your ad spend and put it into content marketing, and just commit, and don't be afraid, and just go for it. Doing it half-hearted is just going to make it take even longer, you know? And just know, okay, we're going to settle in, and it'll take a couple of years to get this thing up and running, and we may actually need some new people or some training, or all these kind of things. But put it as a goal on somebody's uh, you know job description, and say, you're responsible for making this happen. We're going to go this way.
Hmm. That's awesome. Wow. Now it's just some great wisdom there. Some great thoughts. I mean, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I get it, but you're 100% right. You have to make that investment and make that, that's where everyone is going. It's the Blockbuster or the Netflix, I mean, it's where things are going, and to not be afraid. But it is exciting to be able to see those results when you start seeing those little things. Oh, wow, this is interesting. And, it's new, and so it can be scary, but there's light. There's a big light at the end of the tunnel, and no, it's not a train. It's actual light, right? No, it's a good thing. So, John, listen, I've really appreciated and really enjoyed our conversation. Before we wrap up, anything else you'd like to leave for our audience? I'll leave it open-ended.
No, I think just to recap, I think it's definitely worth doing. Content marketing isn't a silver bullet. Marketing in this day and age changes rapidly. And 10 years from now, it'll be something different than than the content marketing approach we're doing now. But the key is not to be afraid of change.
Mm-hmm.
And even though your business model may not have changed drastically in 40 years, or your parts or whatever it is might be. I heard one company at Content Marketing World saying they still sell an item that's been around for over 100 years, So,
yeah.
Okay, but the world is changing. The way people buy things is changing. The way business happens is changing, even in the stalwart industrial sector. So,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to push the envelope in your marketplace. And honestly, there's a really good chance you might rush straight to the front if no one else is doing it. If everybody's lagging behind, then go for it.
Yep.
And I think you'd be surprised with the kind of results you see.
And that's the opportunity right there. So John, with that, thank you so much. If anybody would love to reach out to you, what's the best way of getting in contact? Do you have LinkedIn or Twitter or something?
Yeah, LinkedIn, you could search me, or Mr. John Joyce on Twitter is easy, so you can look for me there.
Perfect. We'll do that. John, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us and sharing a lot of your great insights.
Glad to be on, Danny. Thanks for having me.
All right, so how about that? Man, that was a really awesome episode. I really enjoyed that. There's a ton of takeaways from that. I think for me, a couple of them are we talk about this a lot on here. It's the long game. And that's exactly what they're playing, the long game. This wasn't something that they turned on immediately and boom, results, which is, to be honest with you, a lot of times is that expectation. Digital, things are going to go viral, and we're going to hit a couple buttons and things are going to go magical. And it's not, and there was a lot of fear involved. There's a lot of learning. Is, you heard John say that, for the first year they had, one type of premium content, and they were trying these different things, and they said, okay, this that works, or this didn't work, and now let's double down. And now look where they are. They're creating new positions inside the company because it's shifting the dynamics of how sales are happening. They're able to really excite their distributors, be able to pass leads to them and help make it easier for them. So there's just a lot of incredible benefit from this. Listen, if you're sitting there on the fence saying, gosh, I don't know, we're getting here towards budget season, planning season. If you're a calendar year company, January is just around the corner. Now's the time to really put those plans in place, get things going, lock down that plan and say, we're going to start doing this and map out a plan. Doesn't have to be super high level or big, but start doing something, start getting those results, and keep moving forward. So that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Industrial Sage. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them for you on the show. You can reach out to us at industrialsage.com/questions. If you're listening on any of the podcasting stations, we'd love a review. If you're looking at stuff on social media, hey, make some comments, share the love. We'd love it. And that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm Danny, and this is Industrial Sage. Thanks so much for watching.